I think the most important thing is to learn how to learn, to develop critical thinking.
And that's where I think VR will come, because it will isolate from your environment. You cannot look on your screen on the phone.
So imagine you're learning in the nature, in real environment, with your hands, your senses. You can actually play with it, building that muscle memory, integrate your own senses in learning.
So for example, if you want to show some atoms and physics, it's so much easier to do it in 3D. Like, you can explain and you can look from different aspects.
So the point of using SR or VR technology is that we are actually moving our body. And it's very difficult for lots of people, especially neurodivergent, to sit there to learn something.
All right. Thanks so much for joining, both of you. It's third episode already. Again, with founders. I always like speaking to founders and people building in the EdTech space. So I'm excited for this one. I think let's just get straight into it with very short intros. So who are you and what are you building?
So my name is Yao. I'm the founder of JadeBliz. So we are building in educational technology with SR and AI. The new innovation, not just in technology, is how we introduce the disciplines. So we are bringing the tradition back to the modern time. So the name of the game is the Renaissance of Polymath. So it's how we see the disciplines being taught right now, which is in silos. So we want to introduce the interconnectedness between different disciplines to young people, and to show them that how everything in nature is connected. And I think that's what's really important for the future, especially with AI replacing our jobs. I think the most important thing is to learn how to learn, to develop critical thinking. So there you go.
And maybe very briefly, what does AR VR mean for JadeBliz and how is that related to edutainment?
So I believe Aethernova technology is a great tool for users to fully have this embodied experience, full body experience of learning. So imagine you're learning in the nature, in real environment, with your hands, your senses. So you can actually play with it. I think that's what SR is very important and building the muscle memory, integrate your own senses in learning. Traditional learning from textbook or from screen is very limiting, especially for people who are on the neurodivergent spectrum. They need multiple stimulants to be able to be curious, to be interested. So I believe that SR technology can help people to get them excited, get young people excited, to make them become curious about everything. And it's kind of self-driven. I think it would be possible to develop those self-driven learning habits, which is not really possible right now with traditional tools.
This is great. I prepped a whole list of questions to go into this specific topic a bit later. So hold that thought. Then Albert.
The idea is that you can learn new languages by virtually traveling to the country. So for example, if you're interested to learn Japanese, you don't have a topic list or lessons list. You have different cities. Let's say you go to Kyoto. We teach you a culture and the language in different museums and attractions in different places. And it's an interaction with AI that you can have inside. So instead of literally going all of the gamification and crazy stuff that is happening right now on the market, we saw it, why don't you travel there in real, virtually in VR, and then learn the language while you are kind of being there. So that's the idea of the Travel Polyglot.
And how does that work? So how do you actually learn the language then?
So there's different things. So you work on vocabulary, you can read some signs and read some menus and all of the different interactions. You can listen actual voices of the people talking to you, and then you can actually practice your speaking. So if you learn a couple words, you can try to articulate them. AI will try to understand what you said and try to correct you. And that's the whole idea. Literally what we want is you learn the minimum of the language, so be able to travel and communicate in a rural area where you cannot find someone who speaks English or your own language.
Oh, wow. Then I wanted to start with the a bit of a larger vision and then macro developments, what's happening. What is a large misconception that you see that people hold about AR or VR or XR?
Okay, I'll go first really quick. I believe everybody think like VR and AR is dead already. Everything started back in 2015 when it was super popular. Everybody would do something. All of the big brands did a lot of campaigns and stuff. And then at some point, maybe in up to the COVID, everybody was like, yeah, this is like fake, nobody's going to use it. I think that's wrong. I think all of the VR and AR technology is going to be very, very popular in the near future, and especially about learning. If you think about it, right now there's a huge problem of the focus from the students, not just like a regular student, everyone having lost the focus because of the all TikTok attention span, all of the crazy social media stuff. Like literally very few people can focus on reading book. Like the book became very old school stuff. Like all the youngsters, they're having a huge trouble reading because it requires their full attention. And that's where I think like VR will come, because it will isolate from your environment. You cannot look on your screen on the phone. You will have to focus on things, and that's the biggest advantage using VR, for example, for learning, and AR. Whenever you are walking and outside, learning with AR is going to be also very unique, especially, for example, learning in nature and learning all of the different type of the plants and insects and birds. That's going to be very, very popular for sure.
And well, what is it for you, the misconceptions that you encountered?
I wouldn't say that I've seen much misconception, but I do see that the limitations of the opportunity experience and the limitations of a software or applications that are available for certain type of groups. There are lots of entertainment games, and I think also accessibility design in SR is very important as well, because the headset, especially for neurodivergent people, who experience, they can feel overwhelmed, they can have a headache. So having the design applies to both hardware and the software, the interface, to be applicable to all people. I think there is more can be done there. So, and also related to pricing, available models, and example, and there are and also there's so many different devices. What's right for us and what's right for consumers? I think that's kind of confusion. There's kind of no one like system might like say interface, for example, like there's ecosystem, there's meta system, and there's many other competitors. I think it can confuse consumers, because if a consumer wants to buy one thing, they want less. They don't want to buy so many different devices. They want to buy one device that can have many other applications that they can use. So I think it's too many options, and there's lots of limitations in all the aspects. I think that's how I see it.
And touching upon the previous point is, why does education even need immersive tech? Or I'm trying to understand, I think more people that will listen to this, what is it exactly that immersive tech can't do, which books can't do, or videos can't do, or even now AI tutors cannot do?
First of all, I think AI tutor. This is something I learned from this UCL EdTech lab. Last year, when I was on the program, there was so many innovation using large language models and computer visions. That's all in 2D. First of all, there's a lack of understanding how user behave, and for us, for like neurodivergent people, for example, we all think very differently. How does the software going to be able to, like AI, for example, to understand the user? Even now, with on the clinical level, there's a lack of understanding us. There's a lack of tools and understanding the differences of each people. So we can say, oh, we are neurodivergent, but we are all different. Even just neurotypical, we are all work differently. Has lots of the current AI models, especially based on large language model, has lots of limitation in understanding how users behave, how we learn. So actual technology really has the potential to fully understand. That's how why I'm actually working on another project, a healthcare project, to really fully understand, to develop those tools, to fully understand how each person operates differently, how we conceptualize things differently, how our body moves differently, and all that matters in terms of how we learn. As technology, it has potential to see the environment, to understand the context, and also look at your eye movement and capture those data. Now is no matter Quest 3 doesn't do it, but the future version of those models, the glasses, has the potential to understand our eye movement, our facial expression, our body movement, and integrate all of that data and to create a whole profile to understand how we learn and how we operate. And then we can be able to customize a different learning experience. And that's something that is not possible with traditional AI, current AI models.
And for you, Albert?
I think none of those new technologies is required for learning. If the learning happens like it was happening before, that would be absolutely fine. Unfortunately, we changed a lot. Because of the people changed, the learning have to adapt. And that's what is happening right now. The very many programs I have seen, and I have seen people graduating them, do not give what they supposed to, what they promised to. And that's the technology is adapting. Literally all the VR technologies and self-aware technologies is coming because it's helped you a little bit more. I don't know, video is better than pictures, right? Now VR and AR is better than video because it adds one more dimension. And if you need a lot of skills and a lot of energy to show something in video, now in 3D, it's much easier to show. And that's the difference. Like literally, it's one more additional layer. I think it will be all the time. Like there will be new technologies, new media, new types of the storytelling. It will always add up. Again, like right now, learners do not need to buy another device. I think it's like, because I'm too long in VR here, I think it's overrated. Like VR is just another screen. It's a bit closer to your eyes and it's worked differently, but it's just another screen. It's up to the content makers, up to the experience creators to create new type of experience that immerse people more, that helps them to learn better. That's the kind of the skill required right now. And it's much more complex than, writing the textbook before. It was much more straightforward.
So this is actually research being done talking about rhythm movement that actually helps to regulate people's nervous system, emotions, and helps with people's cognitive behavior. So the point of using SR or VR technology is that we are actually moving our body, and it's very difficult for lots of people, especially neurodivergent, to sit there to learn something, and we need to move our body, our hands, so that can have this rhythmic movement is kind of part of our how human function. It's very hard to get someone to sit there all day or a few hours and not move at all to learn something. I think that's another part of the reason SR technology can be really a useful tool or integral tool in the future to stimulate how we learn.
So, which type of subjects do you both see where what you're building can be applied best? So, do you see, like, for example, like the huge differences between history or biology, or even like within a course design, and where would you fit it in? Because like traditional course design is a lecture, a quiz, an essay, is a video at home. It's where how would you design it as well?
I have the answer for you. So as my game different disciplines, essentially start from the beginning of math, and then introducing the connection between math and mathematics, art, could be visual art, and also music. And to show them the connection, actually mathematics is the foundation of every single discipline. How mathematics connects to physics, biology, chemistry. Mathematics also connects to history as well, and could be like ancient architecture. How the design of that is actually based on basic geometry or mathematical models and then show them the wonder of the world we are living in, how every single thing is connected. And that really gets me excited. And I think that resolves the biggest issues for young people. I can give you so many examples. I talk to young people all the time, including my own son. And he could be like, I like math, but I don't like art. I don't like biology. And I have to show him how biology actually connects to math. And then he go, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then maybe he will be more interested. I think the point is developing the curiosity, and he will be excited and want to learn more. And what's stopping him to learn those disciplines is really that he was like, oh, that's boring. I think it's very difficult for teachers nowadays. They have such a big class to help them, to difficult for them to understand what is purpose is struggling with. And to really have to dig really deep of each person's psyche. And also, I've seen the struggle of young girls could be saying, "Oh, I love math, but I like art as well." I was like, "Why but? Why couldn't you choose both?" I think that's what happening in school all over the world. It seems like, oh, if you like math, then probably you're not going to choose a degree or your career that based in art. But what happened to Leonardo da Vinci? Actually, his polymath is good at everything. That's the skills was required for young people nowadays to have for future, and AI is replacing all the jobs. What's really required us to develop those kind of way of thinking. We can be all innovators, and then I think that's what the future humanity needs. So traditional education no longer serve us. Serve us for this future is a word that is with all this AI and helping us with a mundane job.
World is much easier to show in VR because you can show in 3D. So for example, if you want to show some atoms and physics, so much easier to do it in 3D. Like you can explain and you can look from different aspects. Meanwhile, before that, to show that in a video or in a flat environment, we had to think a lot and find new solutions to explain what is happening. Now you can actually draw it in 3D and show it in animations. So everything that is like from the real life that you want to show much, much easier and simple to explain in VR. And it's also like basically it's much easier for students to grasp and to understand and easier to create a curiosity for them. And I think using new technologies, you have to think of motivating the student. And that's for sure. Like, other than that, you would use all of the old style. You have to find a way how the student will get much more excited about the topic and will learn more and have a more prolonged focus on a topic.
Something I also hear a lot is that educators and schools are a bit reluctant, or at least very cautious when it comes to applying new technologies.
Mm-hmm.
What fears do you come most, and how valid are those? And also, like, how do you convince them then also?
I did a test with teachers first. So before going to the students directly, we go to the teachers and said, like, hey, we have this new technology. Would you like to test? Actually, quite surprisingly, more than 50% of people, I don't have exact number, but it was like a massive number of percentage of tutors and teachers said they are interested. Of course, not all of them scheduled eventually, but all of them were very open to the idea to make their life easier, obviously, because it's very hard, like, especially if you are talking about a group of students, not just like one-on-one teaching, but like you teach to a group of students, keeping their attention is very hard. These new technologies allow them to do that. So they are fairly interested if it's like a practical, if you explain it practically, by the way, you can tell them like a lot of words, they do not understand it. If you show them and explain it, they are very much interested, I think. And it's not that hard unless it's practical. And of course, if it's like possible, we have been doing tests, so teachers were very open and it was free. But if it's paid, then it's going to be much more friction to get in.
And how long did it took then from the first conversation to actually get them to use it?
Not that much. It's not that hard. Actually, yeah, we just gave them the Calendly link. So if they choose to do it, they would just schedule it and schedule to the time when they have the group session. We were targeting teachers teaching language online with the groups. So that was our target. So that wasn't that hard.
Good, nice.
So for me, that we haven't fully launched in the products in the market yet, but I do understand the challenges we're facing to the goal of replacing traditional education. But so far, we just position ourselves as addition that can help young people, help teachers and parents. So we are testing our products at charities, for example, with young people, and then I think that we can totally focus on the commercial things that I would say. I would like to enter the schools because we are facing the systematic, limitations of how the education, sectors set up their framework. Private school has a potential, to take on new technology. They're more open. So I think that it's going to be a long battle to enter traditional schools, in my opinion. It also depends on the region as well, especially in the UK. But there are countries who are more open, for example, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, UAE, like Middle East, and they want new technologies. There are lots of push in digital education, digital healthcare. I think that we are looking at multi channels. One is on the commercial side, launching in the marketplace. Users just can buy as a game, and do some like promoting on YouTube. So we can really treat it as a traditional game. Go through that route of marketing as a game. And also we are thinking about on the side we are launching in the private school market. So I think that's we are looking at long term how our technology or how our vision going to impact the world. I think it's going to take some time to really change how the education is going to be reformed. It's already happening in the UK actually. Last year, the UK government actually pushing a whole new degree under GCSE, and they're pushing kind of the integration between STEM and art. So they call it as STEAM, I believe. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name of it, but they're actually trying to push between art and STEM, traditional STEM degree, just because the requirement of technology actually is require the skills of both art and traditional STEM degrees, especially for future of game development, game design. We really need those talents who are good at both. And so that's why we see government is changing. I'm sure there are lots more changes going to happen in the future.
And how do you both know whether what you're building is working? I mean, if the end goal is improving, let's say, a learning outcome, how do you define it? Is that a happy teacher? Is it a satisfied student? Is it a test result that goes up? Or how do you know that it's working?
Definitely, first, we are helping the users, right? So these young people we are testing with, and their feedback, and usually their feedback is positive. So you know that that's the right direction. It's actually decided by the game they're developing, the concept we are introducing to them, and then you see their reaction, then you'll be like, "Whoa!" I'll say, "Wow, that actually is the biggest affirmation." And any other thing, and you see parents who can come to me and say, "Oh my God, this is so good. We need something like this. My kids that really don't like school. We need some educational content like this and get them excited." So that's the second thing. And then I think the schools will be the last one, because the school is based on the performance of those games. It's really happy young people, and the school more like kids adopt it. So I think the next step for us is really developing those metrics, gathering those data. Is more systematically having those data and the metrics to really see how our game is helping young people with engagement, for example, or learning outcome, and knowledge retention. If there's actually significant improvement, and we can present it to the school, and more likely they will see that it's going to work. They're going to adopt it. So it's kind of like from user, parents, and then you actually having the data, which is very important.
Time the users spent to go from one lesson to another. Like normally online language learning will take forever to learn something. In VR, we don't have a data, by the way, right now. We are not measuring it yet. We're also in a very demo testing stage. But once we are able to show that it's much easier and much quicker to learn the same thing that you will have to go with Duolingo for a longer time, that's the kind of the benchmark for us. That's what we want to measure and see that it's working. And there's no way, you don't know. You literally have to test it. And that's kind of like a beauty of a product making, right? You have an assumption, you build it, you test, or you build a demo at least, or MVP. You test it. If the students feel happy, teachers feel happy, and actually data shows that they are doing better, it's always the good.
And then it's funny that you bring up Duolingo now, because I was going to ask, but when you like look at what products at the moment stick with kids and young students, it's Fortnite, it's Roblox, it's TikTok. Are there certain methods that they're using that you think you can copy, or certain methods that you even must avoid?
To us, it's you have to avoid all of the toxic gamification. That's what they call it. But especially with Duolingo, if you check the Reddit, people are super frustrated and angry about all of the kicking out of the groups and all of the strikes, that all of the things. Like they sell it as a solution, but eventually most of the people fall out and they feel very down. And that's always the problem. What we do is kind of like looking into the more higher level of motivation and habit building. And that's kind of the thing, like literally all of the TikTok culture. There's so many things you can read about, so many things about the learning, but it's not. It's about attention. Learning is the same process. For the ages, we have been learning the same way. It's just like now how we help the student to focus on it and do the things, right?
Going back again to like the future classroom, let's say AR, VR, XR is going to be deployed at a very large scale in any school. How does that affect the role of a teacher, or like any role? Like, how is that going to change? Do you think it also will affect where students learn?
What do you mean by where? The
I
location?
mean, like, yeah. Does that mean that, well, do they still need to sit into the classroom then?
I really disagree. I don't think the kids need to be in the classroom. They can just learn at home. Actually, you've seen lots of kids being homeschooled. If you look at those billionaires, they're all homeschool their children, and you know that serves them the best. There's a couple different reasons. For example, especially very difficult for neurodivergent people to go into a big classroom with people, and it actually it could lead to trauma, it could cause disturbance. And sometimes myself will be like, I really hate going to school. I think it's kind of the negativity or experience that you have. You don't really have control of those interactions. Especially young kids are really prone to have, experience trauma and also abuse, and they do know how to protect themselves. I think being taught in school really help that create an environment that's safe for them and safe for digital environment, which is very important as well. So I really don't think you really have to. And also another thing is like going to school, you have to feel rush, especially lots of kids struggle, especially my son, rush is going to school and all the chaos that they experience as a family and also as children. I really don't think that it's classroom necessarily, serve the best for young people. Why the point of having classroom is really about interactivity with the teacher, with other kids, and it can be totally digital and also protected. I think that layer is really important. How do you have this guardian environment, make sure that kids are not exposing harm in digital, because if you can exposing harm in physical reality, you can totally have that in digital reality. So yeah, I mean, I hope that made my point that going to school is not really necessary.
Okay, for you, Albert.
I think, like, starting from the first question, first of all, we should not give the function of teaching to anything else. Doesn't matter what technology it is, tutor have to be there. That's the only way to learn from human to human. Even if we get an AGI or the super intelligence, doesn't matter. we still have to rely on human experience to be transferred to human experience. So all of those tutors have to adapt, all of the teachers have to adapt. And this is, I don't think it's going to be difficult. This one adoption is going to be much more easier because all of those technology is much better user experience. And I think it doesn't matter if there will be classrooms or not. I would rather still think the classrooms will be there for a long time. Education going to be a very small portion, but it doesn't matter if the student is from home or in classroom. The technology is going to be there to transfer them somewhere else, teach them something else. And the tutor have to be the important part of it. That's what I believe.
Then one more question before I'm going to wrap this up. Since you've been building in EdTech for quite some time now, what's the most surprising thing you learned about education while building in this space?
What originally education was. And it was actually learning while doing, right? Then because of the masses, because of the scalability, because the classes have to go 30 something, we lost that. As a humanity, we have been teaching a lot of theory. Now we can go back. We can go to 101 education and one tutor can do it and technology can allow to do it. So there's something called problem-based learning where you don't teach anything. There's no lectures, there's no reading, there's no watching videos, unfortunately. But you have to give interesting task to the student, and the student have to figure out how to learn himself and execute the task. Obviously, the task have to be very interesting. The tutor have to be there to support and help and navigate. But there will be no direct lectures. There will be no direct involvement and knowledge because it's too boring. Like obviously sitting 40 minutes and watching someone talking, it's not fun anymore like it was before, because before you didn't have this access to information. The teacher was the source of information. He would go and tell you amazing things. Now you can see amazing things swiping up. It's not that dependence anymore. So now the teachers have to be the source of amazing tasks and amazing problem solving. And that's where we started with, right? The critical thinking. We have to teach how to learn effectively, how to learn all the time. And that's kind of the thing. I believe that's what we have to do. Like, if you want to build your house and there's nobody come to teach you or to do it for you, you have to figure it out while doing it. That's how we have been doing it. I believe the education will become like that.
Full circle, yeah.
I've discovered about myself and about so many other things that I have to dive really deep. For example, like I mentioned a lot about neurodivergence or even my own personality type, how that connected, how our brain works. And I really discovered how each individual is so unique and how we learn is so unique, how our brain functions so unique, and how limited is the education is being introduced to us, and what's possible of having truly unique experience that is customized to us. And there's a lot more work that can be done. I could just throw some facts to you. There's some research done recently myself, and I discovered that there are 16 MBTI personality type, and each type and have a decent researcher actually collected different neurons, the neuron data. They actually discovered that each personality type have they have a unique region of their brain is being activated. I was like, wow, that's fascinating. You actually can correlate like that. I mean, like, there's more than just neurodivergence, and there's also different personality type. I think that it's how can we actually in the future build technology truly enable that kind of customized experience and understanding the difference of each individual, and to such depth. And I think there's so much work that needs to be done, research and development on both levels. So I think once you get started, you just go deeper and deeper, and that's always surprised me, the depths you can go to. And every day I'm still learning, and I'm learning from Albert as well today through the conversation. And every day is a learning experience, and every day is surprise to me.
Okay, thanks so much. to both of you. Like, I thought it was like really, really great. You made very interesting points about what education is right now, what it could be, how you're building for that. There was so many different insights, I think. So thanks again for joining.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.